Jen, it looks like you're live, but we see your Zoom screen. There you go. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Strategic Planning Committee for May 10th. It looks like you're live, but we see your Zoom screen. There you go. Okay. All right. Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Strategic Planning Committee for May 10th. It looks like you're live, but we see your Zoom screen. And I'm getting the feedback from YouTube. You might want to cancel that. Planning Committee for May. And it looks like you're live, but we see your Zoom screen. Okay. It was weird hearing myself. Okay, we're going to call it to order.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on.
Yep. And it looks like you're live, but we see your
Give us a second.
Okay.
We got it. Hold on.
Weird hearing myself. Okay, we're going to call it to order.
Okay, hold on a second. Hold on. All right. Okay, we're good now.
Okay.
Bring it
All right.
back up.
No worries. It's all good.
There you go.
Like I said, we'll call it to order. Strategic Planning Committee for May 10th. I hope everyone got to look at or has any comments on the meeting minutes. I don't see them posted, but was there any questions or comments from last month that we need to know about? No. All right, well, we'll consider them accepted. And we'll go ahead and move on. And Jen, since you're taking over for Brian, are you doing the 2022-23 annual initiatives feedback?
No.
Who's doing that?
It wasn't feedback. It was about, we were talking about our goals, which will be presented in June, where we finished, and exactly what we're going to work on for next year. The goal that Jen's going to specifically talk about is one of those goals that we're looking towards for next year and looking for feedback. So I think it was just an introduction to what Jen's presenting right now.
Okay, perfect. I'm just going by what's in the agenda, so go right
Yeah.
ahead, Jen. No
Yeah.
worries.
Okay. Let me. All right. So, yep, just reviewed the agenda there. So what I just wanted to do is just take a minute, because we did spend a lot of time talking at April strategic planning about title funds and spending with some extra funds available and how we're going to allocate them. But a bulk of our conversation, which I thought was great, was talking about parent-family engagement. So I just want to say thank you to everybody who participated in that discussion and gave great feedback. And a few of you even reached out afterwards, the day or two after, with other ideas. So I tried to compile them all, and I believe I sent it out after our last strategic planning meeting too, just a document here trying to capture everything we spoke about so we can use it for planning purposes in the future. So I just want to say thank you to everybody for that. So like Kristen said, we'll be reviewing our strategic goals in a little more depth next month. But one of the goals that we want to talk about specifically tonight is the recruitment, hiring, and retainment of high quality staff. And this is timely because this is the time of year in which we begin posting open positions that we're aware of, and begin interviewing candidates and trying to secure the best ones possible. So just to give you a little bit of context, not to be, all doom and gloom with things, but I think it's important to take this information into context a little bit. So Act 82 of 2018 from PDE decided to put out a yearly report on educator preparation certification, which means they had to, I think it's every March, they said they were going to mandate this data, but they would report out the number of certifications that were issued in the state for the year prior. So the most recent information we have is from the 1920 school year. So remember, this is right as COVID was starting. So these numbers, I think you can imagine, may look a little different moving forward. But I think what's important to note is the drastic decline in the number of certifications that have been issued over the past several years. So if you look on the left-hand side, that's your number of instructional one certifications issued across all cert areas in the state of Pennsylvania. So 2010-11 school year, there was 15,000 And then as you can see, as the years progress, in the 1920 school year, there was only 5,000 that were issued. The out of state is just people who had certs from out of state that crossed over into Pennsylvania and wanted to apply for their cert. The add-ons, if somebody had a teaching cert already and they just wanted to, like the term says, add on another area in which they can be certified to teach, that's those. But when I saw these numbers a few months ago come out, they were very alarming to me. We knew that there was a decline in the number of teachers going into teacher prep programs and also getting certified in the state of Pennsylvania. But to see those numbers, I was like, wow, that's drastic. And then you can see the similar on the right-hand side, the chart shows the instructional 2 certification. So those are teachers after they've met the requirements of their level 1 certification, applied for their permanent or level 2 certification. So those numbers are pretty comparable right there. And as you probably heard, this isn't a AGCS challenge or a Pennsylvania challenge. This is a nationwide challenge that less teachers are going, or less students are going to school for education, thus getting their degrees in teaching. And then I think we can all understand that the pandemic has definitely thrown a wrench in all of this. So I don't anticipate these numbers growing with the next round of data that comes out. Anyone have any input or questions about that? I know special ed got hit pretty hard too, right, Caitlin? I know you were looking at these numbers over the months. Yeah, they were a little more doom and gloom, unfortunately.
Especially high school special ed.
Especially, yep. Yeah, and then there's always the areas that we even face this year with secondary math and science are always tough to fill. And we saw that firsthand this year as well, where we were lucky in some positions to get one applicant apply for certain jobs. So I just think not to be so dismal, but it's important for us to take this into consideration when we're talking about hiring, retaining, and recruitment. But I think more of an emphasis now than ever should be on the retaining the high quality staff, because the recruitment is, pool isn't going to be there like it used to be. So again, a little more context of our interview process. Again, I'm speaking strictly instructional for tonight's purposes, but pretty, I think, standard across the board, the process we follow. So, when we become aware of a instructional position, we review the job description and we post through social media, through our website. I know I put stuff out on my own personal Facebook and share it and have people share it just to get their word out there. Depending on the position, we review the applications. Melanie Lowry in HR does a nice job of screening the potential candidates to make sure they have proper certifications. Then we do a round 1 of interviews, which is usually just a couple of people, which is just your generic interview. We have standard questions we ask our instructional staff, and we rate them and score them. And then after our round 1 interviews, we decide it's not a fixed number. We don't say, oh, we're going to take, half of them and move on to round 2. We're only going to take 1 or 2 and move to round 2. It just really depends on the pool of candidates. If we interview 5 first round candidates and they're all great and we want to see them come back for a second interview and a demonstration lesson, then we bring them all back. If there's just 2, then that's what we do. After that, when we've whittled down our top candidate or candidates, we do a reference check and then ultimately make the offer. So nothing too crazy there. So last piece of context before we move into more of the discussion piece of it. So I wanted to give you a little bit of background on what we've done the past couple of years in terms of hiring, recruitment, and retainment, because this was a discussion that was started pre-COVID. When it comes to hiring, we've definitely strengthened the new hire onboarding process. So we noticed a few years ago, there were some issues with staff that would come in mid-year, which is not a great time to come into a school year for anyone, but we'd get some staff coming in mid-year and HR would go through their paperwork and meet with them and that sort of thing. And then the next day they're popped into a classroom and completely overwhelmed, understandably so. So we've looked at that process and have created pretty much a week-long onboarding structure for new hires, where we kind of ease them into the classroom, and we try and balance giving them the knowledge, information about our school or the content area or instructional practices over the course of the week instead of just all at one time, so we don't overwhelm them. Myself, along with Melanie and Tasha in HR, we've spent the past few months participating in monthly professional development through PDE and PTAN that is directly related to hiring, recruitment, and retainment. And this has been a great learning experience for all of us because we're on with people who are going through some similar things as we are in terms of open positions and hiring the best candidates. So we've learned a ton through them. And the next piece that we'll get some input on is some information that we gathered from them that we wanted to pass on to you to kind of get your input, because we were like, wow, this is great stuff. In terms of recruitment, we've done a few virtual job fairs in the past 2 years. COVID kind of forced that to happen, but I think it was a good thing because it allowed us to meet with more potential candidates across a wider range because they were virtual. We've streamlined the interview process through standardized questions and rubrics. Each year we visit our equity plan, which is part of our federal programs requirement to make sure that students aren't disproportionately taught by teachers who have less than 3 years of experience. So we go through and we look at our staff, our instructional staff, their years of experience, and looking at the cohorts of kids and hoping that doing everything we can to make sure that there's a nice proportionate number of teachers with experience and not experienced teaching our students. We've continued to build relationships with colleges and universities. Something I think that was kind of unique to us is during the pandemic, when we were virtual and hybrid, most school districts were like, we are taking no method students, we're taking no student teachers, but a lot of our teaching staff welcomed them, whether it was virtually or hybrid. Some of the people on here even did too. And I think that's one of the best ways to get our name out there and to show people the amazing things we do at our school in hopes of hopefully hiring them one day and keeping them on. And then lastly, with retainment, as you know, there's been numerous conversations the past few years about the daily and building sub rates, that some of the highest in the county. So we remain competitive. HR has worked tirelessly on the salary and benefits package. Next year, we'll be incorporating a week-long induction program for new staff. It historically was 3 days, one of which was all HR related items. So we're excited about that. So again, kind of going back to the onboarding process, we want to spread out the information that we're passing on to new hires so we don't overwhelm them and frustrate them and not start off on a positive foot with them, make them feel prepared is what our ultimate goal is. We've incorporated an instructional coach. That's been great, helping our staff this year. I know HR does exit interviews, and then everyone, I think everybody on here, or most people have participated in the Engage staff survey that we did in the fall and then just a few weeks ago. So that information has been extremely valuable in helping us get a better handle on the culture of our staff and our needs and our successes. So any questions about this before we move on to the final piece? Okay, so this is the part we thought we would get your input on today, because as you can imagine, hiring and recruitment is a massive undertaking and there's so many components to it. So one of the things in talking with Tasha about was our webpage. So currently our webpage for HR, human resources, and hiring is your basic plain, here's our school, here's the openings, here's how you apply. But one of the things we learned through the professional development opportunities a few weeks ago was to really beef up our website, because that is the spot that people go first typically when they want to learn about your school and want to learn about your postings. So what I have linked here are a handful of school districts that have done a nice job, and these are, as you can tell, all over the country. They've done a nice job of really promoting themselves and doing some unique things to get their word out there and to show them all the great things about their schools. So what I want to be able to do now is put us into breakout rooms for a few minutes. I'll share the link to the presentation in the chat with you so you can go directly to these hyperlinks to the school districts. And as you look at them, even if you might not get to all of them, maybe get to one or maybe two, but whatever you can, I want you to ask yourselves and discuss amongst your breakout room. What do you notice in these sites? So what stands out to you? And what content or features might you want to use in your own site, meaning us? What are some things that you would think would be a good marketing feature for us to use on our website? Are there any questions about that? Okay. So when I share, when I put you in breakout rooms and I share the link, you'll have access to these. So depending on the room that you're put in, I ask that you just have somebody jot down some notes depending on the breakout room that you're in. So some takeaways from the sample websites that you see here in terms of hiring and recruiting. All right. I'm going to stop share for 1 minute so I can organize myself. Yeah. Okay, I put the link in the chat. So if you want to open that up now, and I'm going to put you into breakout rooms. Okay. I think there was a couple of folks just,
We just got kicked back. That's what it is.
yeah.
Okay,
We're all
sorry.
back.
We missed that.
What did you didn't miss anything? You're good.
Well, no, our group was talking and then I'm like, what just happened?
Oh, yeah, that's what happens. You get the hook.
I didn't even see the countdown. It was just like, whoa, what's going on?
Well, maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, right.
You all must have been very engaged.
That's right, Maggie.
There
Jo.
you go. There you go, Mag.
All right. So thank you. I do. It looks like you did get a chance to look at a few of the sample sites, and I appreciate all the feedback on it. And yes, some are not the best. Some are better than others. Was there anything in particular that stood out to somebody that they maybe haven't seen before and we should maybe take into consideration?
Our group liked the testimonial from the
Mhm.
employees, that video. I liked that.
That was really good.
Yeah.
We were in 7, but there was no room 7 area to write in. But that was one of the things we actually liked too, was we thought it would be nice to have a video made of testimonials from some of the new staff and some of our like alumni staff that's been there for a long time, because the videos seem more catching than a whole page full of stuff you have to read and then scrolling down. On one of the sites, we saw the 5-step process to hiring, which seemed a little overwhelming. We also liked the continued development, where there was a video that said their construction plan, and it showed that there's growth happening in the school.
Mm.
And then new vision, they had one picture that was really cool that was of a staff member that had like supports for the teacher just kind of blocked around her, that really showed like the support of a new teacher. And it was just an image of her with these 5 blips around her of what you get coming on board with the school.
Thank you for pointing that out, because that's a question we get a lot too from candidates, especially ones just coming out of school. They do want to know what supports are in place for them. So I'm glad you picked up on that and noticed that as well as being something important.
So, you know, I was with Ryan and Aaron. We also really like the teacher testimonial videos. That's a really nice touch. One of the things we picked up on Lancaster County was the whole, there's a section of why you want to be here, what's in the area. So someone coming, you know, who may not be from this area, why would you want to work here? We liked, which one was it, Ryan? The one with the, there was a whole referral piece that one of the schools
Denver.
had a whole structure of where it was a regular teacher versus custodial and all these different levels, which really helped promote for the faculty, you know, hey, here's another way to help bring people in. We're going to incentivize you to do that. And then the last one was the, I know someone just mentioned those 5 steps, and it was confusing, and it did have a lot of information on it, but I think from someone who would be applying, and when you go into, whether it's a teaching or even in the private sector, when you go in, there's a lot of, okay, what happens next? You know, there is nothing that says that guides you through, and every school is different. So if we had this whole list of like, okay, this is what you're going to do, you're going to apply, and this is the process you're going to go through, and maybe it's more simplified, it's going to help that new teacher feel comfortable knowing this is the process you're going to go through. You know, we want to keep you informed and nothing hidden, and this is the way it's going to work. It may help them out, make them feel more comfortable going through it.
Absolutely. And I think that too, when you show the steps to the process, it shows that you're professional and you're organized, and it sends a message, right? So looking at some of these websites, right, compared to ours or ones you have seen before in terms of hiring and recruiting, it gives you that sense of, oh, they know what they're doing, right? They have a plan, there's a purpose, and people want that. People want that structure.
Yeah. And the Denver in particular, I'm just going to, one more thing and then I'll shut up. The Denver site I thought was very well done in that it was its own little mini site. No matter where you went, it isn't it's part of the initial school site, but once you get there, you're in this own, and it's not confusing. Because sometimes like you went to some of the others and it was like our website, you go down on lists and you are in that employment site. And it shows that someone put a lot of information and a lot of thought in how that process works, which really shows to the person that's applying, hey, they have their act together. They know what they're doing. They're really got this going well.
Exactly. Yeah, that Denver one was really good. Really well done.
I think utilizing video is huge, even in maybe step of what to expect, instead of it being that like a description that's a page and a half that they have to read. If it was a video of a teacher going through the steps and being excited about the process, it could be quite engaging.
Absolutely. Good
That's a good
point.
point.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and somebody else, I forget who had mentioned it a few minutes ago, the incentivizing of staff, bringing new hires on board, I thought was great too. And that was one of the first things Tasha and I talked about when we sat through this workshop. That's something I feel like we could easily pull off at our school for sure. And it happens a lot already. A lot of, staff recommends other staff.
And if you make it, Ryan, or Jen, I'm sorry, one of the things you could do is you can say, one of the companies I used to work for, you get someone hired, they give you X amount of money. Okay, great. That's beautiful. But if that person stays for 1 or 2 years, you get an additional layer. Now, yes, that there's a cost to that, but that also shows that teacher that you're going to be there to help support them because you have a vested interest in making sure they're happy, as well as they want to make sure that they're happy with themselves. So
Like that, like it a lot. And I think it's just such a minimal cost compared to what you would gain.
yes, exactly right.
Right. So, because we're not talking hundreds of thousands of dollars, right?
No. But
it's a small amount, but
no, it's important.
the gains are huge for sure.
So Jen,
Yes.
do you hear me?
Yep.
Years ago, we had a conversation around possibly bringing a preschool into the school. And then we realized how much hoops there were to jump through for daycare / preschool for you to bring your children while you teach. And it would be such an incentive for you to work at our school. But that did come up again. We do have a lot of daycare programs and partnering. And I know the Avon Grove High School is actually building a preschool program. I asked recently if our staff would be able to send our kids there, their kids. And there was some discussion around that. So if that ever does happen, I mean, I think it's something that is definitely an incentive to work at any workspace. But the other one we looked at, it was about the community, and it was about like there's beaches nearby or there's shopping nearby. But what I was interested in was the colleges, because they were showcasing all the educational pieces that were nearby. And we do have UD and Westchester and Lincoln University. We have other universities around here that maybe if we had a page that sold certain programs, that would be an interest to somebody. I'm not sure if it would be, but I thought it was something interesting.
Yeah, I do. I think that, again, that would be like a small investment, right? Like a simple thing to do, but could yield very high results.
Yeah, we even talked a lot about the mental health of our staff and what we've done this year. And even, I know some schools have the gyms in the room, and then the teachers can work out. And we're, if a building happens, part of that conversation has been about having some kind of workout room for kids, but also selling those features to teachers because wellness is really important. So there was good conversation that happened.
I'm glad to hear that.
I want to mention something we didn't see, but like maybe testimonials from students at different grade levels. And this is tagging on to an idea that many of us have been chatting about recently, which is how do we sell our high school program better, or how do we reassure parents that our high school program is as strong as it is, and looking at some of our alumni and interviewing them and making those interviews available to high school students or 8th grade parents who want to hear how our kids do beyond high school. But in any case, testimonials from kids would be something I'd be interested in if I was applying somewhere.
That's great. Yeah, I didn't think of it from that perspective, but you're right. Okay. Sorry, I'm just taking notes here. All right. Well, thank you for the feedback. I appreciate it. And if you think of things, moving forward, reach out and let us know if you have ideas. So this is just a wrap up here, just any sort of general feedback. I know majority of us on here are employees of AGCS, but we have some, like Dwayne said, in the private sector. So I didn't know if there was anything from your world that we might want to think about or take into consideration as we're re-looking at this process and figuring out better ways to market ourselves.
Hey, Jen, just out of curiosity, and I don't know the answer to this. I know that we've conducted studies, again, private sector or public sector. Do the colleges where the kids are going for school to become teachers, or even current teachers, is there any feedback or any surveys or anything that have ever been done that say what are they looking for now? What motivates some of these new teachers to go where they go? Is it just money? Is it just where they grew up? Or is there anything that they're looking for? Like maybe they want a school that is more progressive with technology versus an older school that isn't right there yet, such as that.
That's a great question. I don't have any specific data on that. I think initially, yeah, it is money, right?
Well, yeah, it's always money. Oh, and that was the other thing we saw. We looked at one of the websites. Ryan, do you remember which site it was? It showed a pie chart with the total package breakdown. So, which is important for them to understand. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
I knew there was something I forgot.
Yeah, that I did like that too.
It was Palm Beach.
Palm Beach. Okay, great. Thank you.
Mm-hmm.
What
it
you
would
did,
Go ahead, Bonnie.
I was going to say that that made me think about, so if I were to speak to my colleagues who I'm friends with about why they stay at charter, that's the important thing. And I think getting at that essence somehow, and I think part of it is really the diversity of stuff that we do at our school. We just have some of the most amazing programs, and just having those at our school, even if I'm not directly involved with it, makes me proud and happy. Like, I remember one of my daughters recently talking about her course load and having forensics and fiber arts. And this person was like, what? Wait, you have forensics and fiber arts at your school? And I think some of the programming we have and the successes we've had with different programs, as a teacher, I'd be interested in what the kids want from their teachers and what they see in their teachers, and then the programs and the ability to just experience lots of cool stuff. We have good retention, I think. Do we have good retention?
We do.
Overall, comparatively?
Yeah. Historically, we have. Yep.
Yeah.
Very well. Yep. Again, and that's been a conversation we've had a lot, right? It's just because of where we're located, because we're charter. Sometimes people glaze over us, but what we found is once they come through our doors, they're very impressed and they want to stay. I can rattle off 5 teachers that were student teachers at ELC alone, that names of teachers that weren't able to get a job with our school, but for the past 2-3 years have been applying every year because they had such a positive student teaching experience. And when they couldn't, because there wasn't a lot of openings, couldn't get a job here, they said they will keep trying until they do. So I think it's things like that. It's just like you're going back to what you're saying, Bonnie, it's just getting them in the door, right? And seeing all those things that we do that are unique and different that we take for granted, but those on the outside may not.
Right. And how do you present that in, a page? Because we do not have, West Grove is not a destination, but we're close to some destinations. So we have to focus more on what we have, right, at school. Yep.
And, Bonnie, you said about getting the feedback for the students. It may be good to get some from the parents because, the parents, I think a lot of the teachers will probably agree that it's not only the kids, but the parents that really make the school as well.
Absolutely.
I also want to mention, we also have former students who are now teaching here.
Yeah.
So that is a good testimony as well, just coming full circle.
Good point, Tracy.
Miss Morris, I was a student teacher with Lindenbaum. Well, that definitely disqualifies you, Miss Morris. No, I'm just kidding.
That's why I'm back, though. I think it's
There
through.
you go.
Going
All
on
right, Sarah.
2015, right, Lindenbaum? But I think
Listen, you can't stay away. Once you've been in the classroom with
It's
me, you can't
true.
stay away.
Give them
Well,
all
no,
Lindenbaum.
And you got yourself and then the AV, Matt. So is that right, Matt?
Mm-hmm.
That would be great. They would be great success stories.
Very true. Very true. All right. Well, I think that's all I have. And like I said, if things come into your mind later on, just shoot me an email. But I appreciate your time tonight and your engagement in the discussion. And go Sixers, right?
Go Sixers. All right. If there's
All right.
nothing else, our next meeting will be a month from now. It's just, I always like to check the date for that. If I can get my calendar open, maybe I can't. Anyway, it's a month from now. Look at your calendars. Otherwise, any other comments? If not, we will adjourn. All right, everyone, have a great weekend. It's going to rain again, but that's okay. So it makes flowers for us. We're okay. All right, have a great night, everyone. Take care.
Thank you.